Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge Wurundjeri country, as that is where this podcast is recorded, and extend this acknowledgement to all First Nations peoples, past, present, and emerging. This podcast takes a holistic approach on community building and knowledge sharing that I hope you can utilise in your life. Let's do this.
Morning light and coffee black. Lesson plans are on the stack. Ready for the students' track. Gonna find our groove.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the second episode of the second season of Stranger in the Staff Room, where myself, Zoe Zammit, or as the kiddos call me, Miss Zammit, I am a first-time teacher sharing lifelong stories. I wanted to start off just to do a bit of housekeeping with the podcast. Last episode was the first episode of season 2. Now, the way that I've broken this up is season 1 is the build up to my first year, and the second season is my first year. So season 2 will be a lot longer than season 1. So yeah, if you're a bit confused on why I've broken it up, that's why. I have a lot of big dreams for the third season, but that's just how I am. I can't focus on one thing. I have to focus on a million things at once. So we're going to try and take it an episode at a time, especially with our new team member, Kiara. Hey, girl. If you want to hear a little bit from her, head to the last episode and you'll get to hear her beautiful voice. Anyway, so last episode we spoke about my first week of teaching. A couple of weeks have passed since then, and they have trusted me to take 250 Year 7s to camp. I must be doing my job right, but I think I've done it too right if they're trusting me like that. Do you know what I mean? Oh my God. My whole family were themselves laughing because they're like, you haven't even been teaching for a month and they're trusting you to take these kids to the beach where there's sharks and waves and rips and everything. And I'm like, yeah, don't remind me. I was so nervous. But that is basically what this whole episode is going to be about. I will be talking about the camp day by day. So it was 3 days, 2 nights. And then I am going to bring back our segment of funny students say camp edition. So don't go anywhere.
Every day we learn and grow, setting minds all in a row, teaching them what they need to know, feeling that we're smooth.
Alrighty, welcome back. So, apologies in advance if you can hear the aircon a little bit in the background. It is currently 35 degrees and there is no way that I'm recording with this aircon not on. So, all good there. And you might also hear my doggo snoring behind me. So, yeah, again, I cannot move a Great Dane off my bed. I don't make the rules. So, all good. Okay, so we'll take it day by day. Day 1. I was on time to work, which has been a real issue for me. This past week, I have been on time every single day, early every single day, which is huge for me. So, yay. Anyway, so I was on time. I was able to meet the kids at the bus turnaround that they have at the school, and just sort of, get them excited, get them ready. I had one girl who was so anxious, and I already spoke to her mum about it all. So we sort of had a bit of a code word. I'd lock eyes and just give her a thumbs up, like, hey, you okay? And if she was all right, she'd give me a nod. If she wasn't, she'd just sort of look away. And I'm like, all right, that's when I'll approach her. So I sorted that out with her before we got on the bus. And I said, look, you're going to have a great time. You've got a friend of hers that she's become very close with. I'm like, you've got her. You also have me. So just give me a signal if you're feeling a bit out of it. Then we got on the bus. I had 3 other teachers on that bus, so thank God I put my headphones in and I just zoned out. I can't deal with long car rides and things without some music or a podcast or something like that. So I was glad that I could have that sort of me time on the way there. We got there and the camp staff are so lovely, and I felt like a little bit of a VIP, like a bit of a celebrity. Now, hear me out. Experienced teachers are going to be like, no, like that's how it is. But when you've only seen the student side of things, it's really funny because we got all the kids set up. We put their bags in the gym. You know, they had a little bit of a briefing from the camp staff. And I was about to stand there, start listening. And one of my teacher friends was like, this is just for the kids. Come inside. And I was like, come inside where? They're like, the dining room. We had platters. We had food. We had chocolates as we were getting this debrief about who our point of call was. And I was like, wait, what? Like, it was just insane. And we got our itineraries for the kids. And the first activity my group was doing was mountain bike riding. Oh, I have not ridden a bike for a decade at this point. And I promised myself, I was like, I would give most things a go that the kids were doing. Just to let them know that I'm human and I'm also a little child. So, yay, fun. But I was like, mountain bike riding, first go, I'm going to make an absolute of myself. And that's it. I'm going to lose all street cred if I even had any. Anyway, I was freaking out about that. I texted my mum. My mum thought it was hilarious. Very funny. So, we got onto that first activity after we had some lunch. And I broke the bike first go. We were doing like this mini mountain bike course before they actually got onto the mountain biking. And I, because I like to fidget, was fiddling with the gears while I wasn't pedaling. And that is a big no-no, I found out really quickly, because I turned, I started pedaling and the chain snapped off. And all the kids were laughing at me. And I'm like, don't laugh at me. I'm trying. Anyway, I got a new bike and then I was okay. But it was really cute. Like, as soon as I got on the bike, I'm hearing, go Miss Zammit, go Miss Zammit. And I'm like, oh, they actually care that I'm giving it a go. So yeah, I thought that was very sweet. My hurt for the whole 3 days. I think it actually only feels better now. So I came back on Wednesday. It is now Sunday. I don't know how you'll do it that are just like cycling every day. No, my bum is not made for that. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I'm glad I gave it a go because also because of camp, I decided to take a break from my fitness routine. So the fact that I was still getting fitness in was really good for me. The next activity we did after a bit of afternoon tea was a game called Environmental Chase. Now that was just for the kids and I'm glad because I'm not as agile as them. But basically what it is a massive game of bush tiggy. And it teaches them about herbivores, omnivores, carnivores. As soon as I started explaining it to the kids, I'm like, oh my God, I played this at camp. It was the best thing ever. Like, I still remember like crawling around the bush being like, oh my God, where are they? And like being like real Bear Grylls about it. Yeah, I had the best time. And the best thing about that activity with being a teacher was that all I had to do was stand on the boundary of the road and tell kids off when they got too close. So I really was able to be, I was able to have time to myself, did a bit of mindfulness, things like that, just to regulate myself because I don't know if I've mentioned it in the podcast already, but I am an only child. So having so many people around me 24/7 for this camp really daunted me. So any chance I could, I just took some time alone. So that was really great for that. And camp staff do not get enough credit for what they do, like at all. Like I don't understand how they switch on and off because I couldn't switch on and off when I was there. So big props to the camp people. Yeah, so that was really good. Then with the camp that we went on, because our year 7 cohort is so large, it got split into boys and girls. So for the first night, girls were sleeping in a tent and they were cooking their own food on a trangia. Now, picture private school 12-year-olds doing this. I'm laughing too. And I was ready to get in a tent. I was ready to start cooking, all this sort of stuff. I got prepped and then they're like, Zoe, this cabin's free. Like, go in a cabin. What are you doing? And they're like, they've already got enough supervision at the trangias. Like, go eat in the cafeteria. I'm like, VIP celebrity treatment. I call myself VIT to my year 7s, very important teacher. So yeah, I was very spoiled in that behalf. So yeah, the girls did that and then the next night the boys did that. So yeah, once they were all done eating, I went with the girls on a nature walk. So we went past the lake and into like a little bit of bushland and again, got some fitness in, which was great. I had one student who she is on the spectrum and she finds it hard to make friends and she gets along with me really well. So that walk was really good for us to bond and connect and all those sort of things. But again, with people on the spectrum, that change between me being a teacher and me being a friend is really hard. So after a couple, like I think the second day, I sort of had to put a boundary in place, which did upset her a little bit, which made me feel bad, but she doesn't have any hate towards me. Like we still have a laugh and get along. So she understands. So wiped the sweat away from that one. So that was good. Yeah. And then by that point it was time for bed. I was drained. But I stayed up a little bit to talk to my teacher friends, which the group of people that I went with on camp, like were a lot of people that I got along with anyway, but I was able to get so much closer with them. Like it was such a bonding experience and we were ourselves laughing, and I was able to sort of drop the mask a little bit and show a little bit more of myself, my, bogan, quick-witted self that I can't really show around the kids. And it was just great. Day 2, I was so nervous about waking up because I'm not a morning person and I had to be up before all these kids. I got up early, 7:15 had to be ready. I was set. 7:15 breakfast. Let's go. And then one of my teacher friends came in and she's like, breakfast got moved to 8:30. I'm like, sweet, see you in an hour. And I went back up to my bed, clothes and all, and went to sleep. But if I was a more experienced teacher, I wouldn't do that. But the group of teachers that were with me are so supportive and they understand that this is very new for me. So yeah, they just sort of let me have my moment. So that was good. My kids' first activity on the second day was bush cooking. They learned how to make damper, which I thought was such a calming activity for the morning. Like I thought it was really nicely scheduled, and I was able to chat to these kids in my group and, form bonds and things like that. And they were talking about the vertical challenge, which was the one that they were going to do next. It's sort of like a high rope. And I said to them, I was like, kids, I know I haven't lived long, but I have lived enough life to know that that is not a Miss Zammit activity. I will be a detriment to society if I do that activity. They're like, oh, come on, miss, come on. I said, no, nothing you can do will convince me to do that. But you are all 12, 13. I said, you have not lived enough life yet to know whether that's an activity that is for you or not. I said, so I want everyone to give it a go. And even if you put your foot on the first step and you go, nah, that's it, you've already done better than Miss Zammit. So do you reckon that's a challenge we can all do? And they're like, yeah, 100%. We want to go to the top. I'm like, sweet, 100%. So we went to the vertical challenge, and their slogan at this camp was challenge by choice, which means setting your own goals and achieving them. And so they're like, come on, miss, challenge by choice, get up there. I'm like, my challenge is to not pass my anxiety on to all of you, because next to the high ropes was the giant swing, which if you don't know what that is, all the kids work together to pull up a student. You're trusting kids with someone's life. And then the person at the top of the swing pulls this cord and they start swinging. I personally quite like that one. But every time they pulled the cord, it sounded like one of the harnesses snapped. And so I'm like jumping every 5 seconds. They're like, miss, are you all right? And I'm like, this is what I mean. Like, I'm not passing this anxiety on to you. You can all do it. But in saying that, to help with hoisting the kids up on the high ropes, there was tension on the rope that you had to pull. And that was a 3-man job. So I would jump in and do that. And I was like, I'll be slack master. I'll be bucket master. I'll help this way. And they're like, yeah, all right, cool. And then the poor things, it started bucketing down rain. And these kids still gave it a red hot go. And they still enjoyed it, which I thought was good. Kind of sucky because then the other 2 activities that they were going to do was at the river. So they were already soaking wet and then they had to get into the cold water. Did not envy them at all. Absolutely not. So we walk over to the river, they start this raft building exercise, and you can see that these kids are exhausted. And it made me realize how little these kids are. Like, they're just babies. Even one kid who is usually very chirpy, very friendly, like he's such a joy to have in my class. He came over and he's like, I'm not feeling well. And I'm like, do you want to give it about 10, 15 minutes? And then if you still don't feel right, you can come back. And the poor kid started having tears in his eyes, and I'm like, I just want to give you a cuddle, but I can't. So he gave it a go, and then he came and sat back down, and I was like, hey mate, I'm like, is it just physically that you're not feeling well, or is it emotionally? He's like, oh, I think just physical. You could tell it was emotional. The boy was tired, right? And I'm like, okay, no worries, thank you for letting me know. If you need anything, we're just over here. And he's like, all right, cool. And a lot of kids were getting cranky like that. which I'll talk about later. But yeah, went back after they did a bit of get to know you games as well. Oh, it was so nice when the camp people was able to take over like that. I was able to read my book. I was able to get to know the teachers that their groups were also there. And I said to one of my teacher friends, who is about my mum's age, I want to say, so like 50s. I said to her, I'm learning a very valuable life lesson on this camp. She goes, yeah, what is it, Dal? I said, I'm not ready to have kids. And she started laughing. She's like, it's good to know before you have them. I want kids more than anything, but that camp experience made me realize, not now. Oh my gosh. And so, yeah, dinner again. This night was even better to get to know my teacher friends because everyone sort of settled down really early because they were tired. So we went back into the dining room, had some snacks, whatever, and we were just loud. We were talking about everything under the sun, bras, contraception, embarrassing stories like that. Like, it was just stuff that you wouldn't imagine coming out of a teacher's mouth. And so one of my teacher friends, she's from London, and she is like if Adele chose teaching instead of singing, right? Just to give you a visual and a character profile. And I had my back to the door and I was listening to her, and me and her just get along like a house on fire. We have the same humor. And she's like, the last time I got a bra, what? Hi, girls. And I turn around and there's 2 students at the door. And so I am ugly laughing and crying because these poor kids, we did not know how long they were there for. But I said to my friend, I'm like, look, if there was any 2 students that was going to walk in, I'm glad it was them, because these girls were a bit class clowny. You could tell that they had older siblings or older people in their life that they could banter with. So I'm like, they won't find it as weird. But yeah, oh my God, it was great. It was so funny. But yeah, that second day really took it out of me. So before we went and had that little moment of us as the teachers, I had to go up into my room and just take half an hour to just doom scroll on TikTok because I was so overstimulated. I was so overwhelmed. And the teacher that I was bunking with, she's like, hey, you okay? I'm like, I just need 10 minutes alone. Like just to work out what the I signed up for. And she's like, yep, all right, cool. And I was I was having a bit of a crisis. I was like, is so much imposter syndrome. Like, these kids are asking questions I have no idea about. I was so overwhelmed. And the reason we had those big funny chats, me and my teacher friends, was because I said to them, they were like, how are you? I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed. And they're like, all right, let's talk about it. What do you need? Like, exactly like that. And I'm like, oh, like, they get it. And basically what I explained to them was the only basis I have of kids this young, because the youngest I taught up to this year was year 9. I said, the only basis I have of kids this age are my 2 little cousins who are like my brother and sister to me. Now, because of the age gap between us and them always hanging out with adults, they are a lot more mature socially. And these kids are not. These kids, for a lack of a better word, are quite sooky. They haven't worked out that I am not their mum. And as someone who wants to be the nice teacher, that mental health matters and all this sort of stuff, that was a really hard boundary to put in place. Like, I'm still thinking about it. Like, did I do it right? I'm not sure. And the third day we'll now talk about, because we were at the beach and we were learning how to surf and things like that. And the kids were tired and they were just like, they were trying to find any excuse not to get in this water. And this one kid, who I do get along with, like, we have some great laughs, he was just not having it. And it was ungrateful. It was disrespectful to the people that were trying to, be there for them. And so you can take the girl out of public school. You can't take the public school out of the girl. So I just ripped in. I was like, do you know how many kids would be killing to be in your position? You have got such a fortunate position right now that kids wouldn't even dream of having. Cut the sooking, cut it out, and be grateful. And my home group partner was laughing, and I'm just like, no, I can't have this. Like, be grateful. Like, you could hate it, but show some respect. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was a wild couple of days. I was ready to come home, but I learned how to surf. Did I stand up? No. Did I look like a tumbleweed? Yes. But the kids were rapt that I gave it a go with them. So yeah, that was basically it. And we got home and my mum picked me up. I looked like Lord Farquaad because my hair was unwashed and everywhere and it was gross, but we survived. Alrighty. This is a little bit more than the halfway mark, but we're going to take a break here and we are going to have a segment of funny. Students Say Camp Edition.
Laughter in the classroom halls, answering those curious calls, cheering when a student falls and gets back up anew.
Alrighty, welcome back. So, I wrote my 3 funny students say quotes in my teacher detox toolkit, which if you haven't gotten yours yet, I have no idea what you're doing. This has really helped me, find gratitude in really hard weeks like this one on camp. So I have filled out one of the weekly log pages, and a part of that is 3 funny things students said. So yeah, I'm going to be reading them from there. If you would like to get yourself a copy, there are 3 different designs and they're now in A5, so they're a lot more smaller and compact for you to take with you. Head to the link in the show notes. So without any further ado, Camp Edition, Funny Students Say. We were walking to the beach and I wish I knew who this kid was. I didn't know his name. And he was talking with his friends and he's like trying to reassure them because they didn't go to the beach much. And he's like, guys, it's okay. Did you know a shark without teeth is just a stingray? What? And me and my home group team, partner looked at each other and we literally said, did we just hear that right? Did we just, you know what? It's fine. Then the mountain bike riding. So my home group got split in 2. So my home group partner was with one group, I was with the other. So the first group was just finishing the track and we were halfway. And this one kid, he looks like a little Cabbage Patch Kid. Like he's so little and cute. And he yells out and he's like, Miss Zammit, get ready. The course gets so much worse, as I am heaving for air. And I'm like, okay, yep. Thanks, buddy. Love your work. So, because I am only 5'3" and I was wearing very casual clothes on this camp because it was very active, and I was giving the mountain bike riding a go, I knew I was going to be mistaken for a student at some point. By a teacher, I thought, but no. So we were doing this mini track to get used to the mountain bikes, and I moved from where I was at in line and moved to the back. And this one kid's like, why did she move? That's weird. And this one kid who I found out his name, I have not taught him. I don't think I will this year, but he is such a delight. He just turns around to his mate and goes, you're an idiot. She's a teacher. She's got the med kit. Are you joking? And his friend's like, oh, sorry, miss. And I'm almost about to tip off my bike laughing because I'm like, this is first day and I'm already getting mistaken for a student and not even by a teacher. Alrighty, so those were my 3 funny students say for camp. If you have any camp experiences like that, it could be a horror story, it could be a heartwarming story, it could be a funny story like those, head to the link in the show notes and I have a forum where you can pop in your stories, and the next time we do this segment, we might put them on the podcast. So that's your little 5 seconds of fame that you might have. Alrighty, so that is our episode done for today. I will keep updating you on the life of Miss Zammit, and I will also be popping in some focus episodes based on things that I'm picking up from the job that I'm like, oh my God, why do people not know about this? If you have any ideas on what that might be, there might be some things you might be in your 2nd or 3rd year and you're like, I wish I knew this when I was starting. Pop it in the comments below and we can do a focus episode on that. So without any further ado, enjoy the rest of your day. This is Stranger in the Staff Room, over and out.
Teaching vibes were in the air, sharing knowledge everywhere, guiding young minds with such care. This is what we do.